2200.
Garrett is 2198.
2198.
Hannah is 2218. Ruby is 2135.
5. Okay.
We've never been down this hallway.
No.
Felt like I was gonna be out of sync.
I'm always out of sync until about the next to last one. And then I start.
Get comfortable with
Yeah.
it. It really feels like it's a little roomier than that. I was feeling
Yeah, this is a lot bigger. Oh
Hey,
boy.
Williams' room, the entire room, judges' packets are.
like
Oh,
we want
that.
our first one to test it and see if it comes open. Isaac has had, he's been having health concerns. He's got a heart monitor on that he just got today. I told him, I said, did you tell the doctor it might not be good?
Yeah, this is the right day to start, so.
He said, well, it should give him a good baseline.
Yeah. Okay, you could live through this, so you're all right.
No, what's so strange is they think it is, something to do with a valve. That's not contagious. How did you get,
Job hazard.
how did the stress, yeah. It's been 9 years since, no, 10 years since I've been the tech director, and I can tell you it is a stressful job. Horrible. Why I got out of it?
Especially.
I said, I don't have any use for this junk.
Move right in.
Oh, good, test one. Look and see,
Yes.
because I think they said somebody's didn't log in.
Yeah, down there in
You want to see if yours will, so then we'll know. Pick your spot, wherever you want to go.
I don't want to sit in the front.
Okay, there you go.
I never sat.
What's what they had somebody right here, and I'm like, I don't need nobody right
And
here.
they could have been in your butt. No. That's what I would say. I'm sweating.
We'll let you test one and see if it gets to,
Okay. Do I have to
and
put
then
the
you
kids'
can let
ID
me,
too?
yes,
Do you-
your ID and the kid's ID. And then I'm curious, because they said you also can see like a website. Here, it is what it is. Scorecards when you will. Oh, how sad. Sad. Oh, and if you just keep scrolling, you don't have to do that. You can just scroll down and it keeps, so that's her thought out. And it was research.
Oh, there's one nice.
Yeah, scorecard. Grade card, same thing.
So when are you not busy at school? Like in the morning time, like 8:30 to 9:15? Are you any time when you're really busy? I didn't talk to you about. I feel like it'd be better to
If you were going to come, like tomorrow would be good. Next week
Okay.
is not good because it's graduation,
yes.
and every day is something with graduation.
You want to get it, just set up.
Okay.
So,
Okay, yeah. I can
Good,
come
it's
tomorrow.
good.
Thank you. Yeah.
and
Good,
not,
appreciate it.
if
Wonderful.
you just wait till after graduation that week, after graduation, it'll be, things will calm down then.
Okay. No, I'm not. I am.
Oh.
Yay!
Okay, I need to go. I have time, right?
Yeah, we got one in, I mean, if one went in, we were good.
All of them are looking at opens it the same, but it won't load.
Oh,
So
no,
if they're having that
we
problem.
did apps and then.
Yep.
Hey, how are you? Wonderful.
Also, the stream will go live here.
I was gonna say, when do we know when we can set that up?
Any minute, I mean, it's already streaming out from here, so.
Can you grab one and take it with you? Is that right? Yeah. I'll be here. Hey.
That's my board.
That's your board?
Okay.
And then,
Alright.
you're not gonna let her in?
Really?
Oh, I'm so nervous. Are you not gonna let her though? Is she gonna go watch you on YouTube? This is the microphone,
Okay.
so you have to clip it on you somewhere. Don't turn it off, because we want to make sure that that's.
Okay. Just like right here, or?
And your green light's on. So.
Okay. I don't care.
I'll go check the other room.
Will I have a clicker? Or? Okay, okay. Hoping this don't fall off me. Thank you. Okay.
Just so you know.
Oh, great, okay.
You might want to take a deep breath.
Yeah.
4:53.
All right.
We start at 5.
You guys probably all know that we're live streaming, in case you don't, we're live streaming.
Over and over and over.
Thank you.
Yes. They said just clip it on.
Mine's hot in my hair. I'm hoping I don't like.
Okay.
Okay. My word.
Anybody wanted to come watch you?
Yeah.
Give them time.
Yeah. I think we all have an agreement we're not watching each other. Yeah. Yeah.
I never mind to put it at the top, but I just didn't want to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
So you pick up on like
Yeah.
every little thing
Hey.
going on, like. all of
I'm
your
just
hand
telling you, yeah, I'm just
movements
telling you
and-
now this is going to be drenched by the time I'm done with it, so.
It's all right. Still at 5 minutes.
Okay. That's okay.
You're okay with
That's
that?
okay.
I don't think it's, not that it matters. We were thinking about leaving the front door off, lights.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it,
It doesn't really make a big difference.
Check this right already?
is everyone successful? Oh, you get to go first?
Mhm.
The best position.
I chose that one. Yeah.
You get that?
Yeah. I think the worst part's just waiting in the cafeteria.
It is nice to be first, though.
Yeah.
Knocked out.
Yes.
That's when I would want to be first.
Yeah. I was actually scheduled to go very last, and I was like, ah. And then I found someone who's like, I do not want to go first. I was like, switch ya. So
Oh, well, that was nice. that you
it
could
worked
do
out
that.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I told her, I said, I don't care. And she's like, I don't care.
She thinks that she'd be better without it.
My dad's like, let's just go in. I was like, I don't want to make her nervous. So I was like, okay. I don't care.
Everybody kind of has a different opinion of that.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who are like, nope, parents are not coming.
Oh, I know.
That's what Ryan Friga told his dad. His dad's like, I've raised you for 18 years, and I can't watch you do an 8-minute speech. He's like, no.
I watched the exchange like that last year outside the door. No, you're not going to.
Yeah.
I'm just going to walk away and let you guys settle this.
I was like, I don't care. She's like, I'll stay. Okay.
2 minutes.
Okay. Are you staying here the whole time? Mhm. Thankfully, it's a smaller class, so.
It is, that's what I was saying. The I
Oh.
might be here till midnight.
Oh, boy.
Father's Day.
Oh,
110.
oh my.
This group is 71.
70, yeah, 70, yeah. Whew.
You're into that group. One night. It's been interesting trying to, it was interesting being scheduled in because. Not sure what that means. We're in the last minute.
Right. Hi. Are we ready? All right. Are my judges ready? We've had sports in this world for as long as we can remember. It wasn't until July 2nd, 1968, that we had a first ever Special Olympics held in Chicago. From that day forward, that has changed our world of sports forever. Hi, my name is Riley Scarborough, and I'm here to tell you how physical activity can be very beneficial to kids with disabilities. Dr. Seuss once said, "Why fit in when you were born to stand out?" And this is a very powerful quote in many ways. One way in this particular way means really embracing who you are with and without disabilities. Now, disabilities can range from moderate to severe. And so some moderate disabilities are a learning disability. Learning disability happens more in a school setting. learning disability, that can kind of hold you back in school because you won't always understand what the teacher is saying, and they just have a difficult time really understanding what is being told of them or asked of them. Another one is social skills. Social skills is an in-the-school setting and out-of-school setting. It is very crucial that a kid has social skills so they can ask questions when needed, and in school they can really ask questions to see where they are struggling at in their schoolwork and where they can make friends and really just kind of open up and be able to communicate with others one-on-one easily. Another one is attention span, also known as ADHD. ADHD kind of happens to your brain whenever you think the smaller things are more important than a conversation you're having one-on-one. So you could be having a conversation with somebody one-on-one, but a sound as small as the projector makes your brain think that is more important than the conversation you're currently having. And so it makes it really hard to kind of stay focused on one thing, so your brain kind of goes different ways at one time. Now, for some of our severe disabilities, we have one known as autism. Autism is a spectrum disorder, which means they can have a very mild case of autism or they can have a severe case. In the severe case, autism doesn't only affect the mental part, but it can also affect the physical part. With autism, some people have to learn to walk and talk, and it just makes it difficult for them, or it can affect the way they look or sound. And so it's just a very difficult disorder. Another one is deaf. That is where you can't hear, and that can be where you can be born with it, or it can just happen over time. And that is very difficult because you have to relearn how to communicate with one-on-one, relearn to communicate with others, and just really trying to figure out how you can go from one spot and really just keep advancing. Now with blind, you can get that at birth too. You won't be able to see, and you can get it at birth, or it can just happen over time as well. And that is a really difficult one to have because you have to relearn how to see where you're going, see where you are, and you can do that based off sounds or people's voices. And so you have to relearn how to walk and get places safely. And it's just a really difficult one as well. Now, another one is brain injury. Brain injury is more common. You commonly hear it in sports, known as football. That can happen when you have a blow to the head. And it's more common in football. It's a very rare injury, but it happens. And when you have a brain injury, you could potentially be okay, but you'll always have those side effects with a brain injury. Or there's other times where it can be more of a severe case, and you won't be able to walk again, and it can make it really hard for you to communicate again, be able to speak again. And so that is more common in sports, but it's a very rare disease to have. Now, for some of my pictures, I did a Special Olympics in the new gym with the elementary kids, grades 1st through 4th, and we had several activities. At first, we let the kids play with volleyballs and just kind of get familiar with us and the people around them and the space they were in. And so then we started off with hula hooping. We let the kids hula hoop, and then we would time them, and when they dropped, that's the time they got. And then we let the kids run a race, and they really enjoyed the long jump, which would be in my next slide, sorry. But then that was our therapy dog right there. That therapy dog really helped the kids because it really let that kid in particular open up. He was a very shy kid at first, and he didn't really want to participate, and he didn't really know anybody there. But with Melissa Altermat bringing her therapy dog in, that really got him to feel comfortable with where he was at, and it really helped him open up and participate. And so it was just a really fun time. And in that picture, we have a kid who was in a wheelchair, and he wanted to long jump, and so he didn't let his disability stop him. He had his special ed teacher, Brooke Kaufman, and his mother help him out of his wheelchair and jump him along the line so he will be able to participate in that event. And he loved that. The smile on his face was amazing. Now, some social benefits. Social benefits is interacting with others. It is very crucial for a child with disabilities to interact with others so they can open up and they can make new friends and they can ask questions when needed, and really just it'll help them in the long run as well. And it'll really help them feel more comfortable and open with interacting and communicating one-on-one with where they're at. Another one is feeling comfortable. Now, feeling comfortable was a very big one for my project because I wanted the kids to feel like they could trust me and trust the people who they were with. And feeling comfortable was just really important to me so that I can talk to them one-on-one and know that they can trust me and trust the environment they are in. Now, importance with dealing with special ed kids. One-on-one time, like I said, was a very crucial part because in and out of school, like in school, the teacher has to work one-on-one with them because sometimes, depending on the disability, the kids would fall behind in class. And so working with them one-on-one can help them get up to their speed and get up to where they need to be and help them stay kept up in class. Handling best and worst behaviors. Handling at their best is really just telling them when they did a good job and when they are doing a good job so they know that they are doing a good job and to keep doing it. And at their worst behaviors, it's really important to let them kind of go through that phase that they are in or that episode they have. So you tell them that it's okay and stay calm. And it's really important for you to stay calm so they know that everything is okay and that it will be okay in the end. And patience. You need to have patience when dealing with them because sometimes like a minor thing could happen and they will just shut down and it will take them a while to really just open back up again. So you have to be able to have patience with them and be able to tell them that it's okay to, be upset. Interaction with non-disabled peers is a big one because in the school setting, you can ask them questions and they can teach you new things that child didn't already know before, and you can learn new skills from that person as well. Like I said, you will be able to learn new skills from that non-disabled peers, but it's also important for them to interact with their disabled peers because, like I said, they can always learn something new, and by interacting with those other peers, they will be able to learn something new and pick up new skills from others. Help advance in academics. By asking questions and really using their social skills, they will be able to further in their academics because they'll be able to ask questions and they will be able to stay caught up on their work. And it would really help them in the long run because they won't be able to, sometimes they'd fall back in their class and not be able to graduate with their original class. So that would really help them in the long run to advance in academics. Now here's some more pictures from my senior project. We did some cup stacking. We let the kids kind of just build however they wanted and however they felt. And the one in the wheelchair over there, he liked to build them up, and then he would love to take his wheelchair and just run right through them and let them fall all down. He loved that. The laughter he had was just the sweetest thing. And then we let them play with the hula hoops. They liked whenever we flipped them and it rolled back to them. They thought that was magic. And then my amazing mentor, Marlena Barker, and all the other help from my amazing people, they sat there and they gave each kid a first place, second place, third place, and fourth place ribbon. And as you can see in that picture, the little kid on the left, furthest left, got first place. And he was very, very excited about that. And it was just a really great time. Now, some challenges I faced while doing my project was weather changes. Weather changes that can really affect a kid with disability. That can affect their whole day. I was an A+ in Brooke Kaufman's room my junior year, which is a special ed room, and just the slightest change in weather, if this went from sunny to cloudy, that would affect a kid's day so much because it would affect their mood. And so if it was sunny outside, this one kid just didn't want to go outside. He didn't like the sun and he would rather stay inside. For my project, it was cloudy and rainy. And so that made some kids just not want to go outside and not want to be outside that day or leave their house. And so that was a big challenge in my senior project. How many kids? That was a big one because we were hoping for a great turnout. We ended up having 4 kids, which was actually a perfect amount because it really let all the kids just really have my one-on-one time with each kid, and it was so much easier to, let them know what they're supposed to be doing, and they just liked it better because it wasn't overwhelming for them to have a bunch of kids in there. So, and the participation, that was a big one. We had one kid who just didn't want to at all because he didn't really know anybody else that was there, know any of the helpers that were there. And so we really had to, he used the therapy dog to help him, in interacting one-on-one with him, he felt more safe with me and he felt like he could trust me. And so that was a big one. And really, all in all the kids did really good with participation. How I benefited from this, I really hope the kids benefited from this, but by, getting to interact with their peers one-on-one. We even had a kid, this one on the very far right, he came from out of town. And so that was fun. He got to make new friends, these kids did, and they got to exercise, and they really just got to have fun with their friends while also getting the exercise needed. But I think I benefited from this the most because I really just got to open up and, really see what these kids' days are like and like how they act with the slightest things, and there's the changes. And it was just amazing to work with these amazing kids. And it was a great day to see all the smiles on their faces and all the laughter they had. And it was just an amazing time in general. And I would definitely do it all over again if I could. So thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
Is there any sort of like connection
Mhm.
to kids? How does it affect like classroom work? Like did it?
Well, I think it really helped them, get to know each other better and really help them open up one-on-one. So then when they do see each other in the school setting, they will already be familiar with them and make it easier for them to communicate one-on-one. Yes. Are there any other questions?
What advice would you give to teachers, other kids in the classroom, the community, to help interact with children that have disabilities? Because that's not always easy.
That's a good, because my advice would be, patience would be a good one. Just really have patience with them and really just use like your calming voice and just laugh and smile a lot so they know that you're a friendly person and they know that they can trust you, and just be really, really friendly to them. Do my judges have any other questions? Nope. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Go. Am I good to go? Or do I- Okay.
They were just wanted the bronze. Oh.
He's got 6 minutes, so. He's got 6 minutes, so I just didn't want to.
Oh, okay. I just making sure that she hadn't got away with it, so.
I say I'll lean it up against that once I'm actually showing it off. I'll lay it down and do it that way.
Are you ready to mic up? Okay.
I say,
I think we'll put it.
I said this is the first time I've ever done this, so I'm not sure either. See what it,
Didn't seem right.
would it have to be on this side? So it's like,
You got me. I've never played with one of those toys before.
go yell at Andrew or something.
So those little green lights on, that would be good. Is that close enough to?
You know, you're gonna stand at that white line
Yeah.
over there, but you still have like 5 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever. We won't start till exactly 5:20, just because in case someone's wanting to come watch yours. And you don't have to stand there if you don't need to.
You can walk around.
You could, yeah, you don't
4
have to stand,
minutes.
yeah. Don't have to stand, I'll tell you when we count down the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
4 minutes.
Probably have too many sports with the toes and rowing. Oh, good for them. The speech should be allowed 10 minutes. I'll probably be around like 12. And then they ask questions. Then I take everything. Couple minutes. I have most of it. I do not. But I'm also scared on how fast I do it. Because like Alex, I talk fast when I get nervous. Thank you for coming. I'll be honest, I thought you were joking. I thought you were like trying to make it intimidating. Okay. Miss Patton, may I click it real quick, see if it works? Okay.
We're not there yet. We're not there. Eric, Ron?
Are my judges ready? First, I would like to start with the story of a woman named Ella Wilbanks. She is a suicide hotline dispatcher, and due to her stress-inducing job, is on her way to several mental and physical illnesses. And because one day she wasn't feeling quite like herself, she decided that she needed to go to the doctors. The doctor told her to change her lifestyle, or she'll meet an early grave. So Ella decided to sign up for a seasonal pass at her Young Men's Christian Association, or the YMCA. She now goes on the weekends, and she uses her nutritional and educational benefits that she attains from her pass as much as she can. Hello, my name is Eric Braun, and I think that humans and everything else on Earth relies on good physical, mental, and social health to survive. Health used to be described as the absence of disease, but now is described as the complete physical, mental, and social well-being. And this is brought to us by the World Health Organization. First, let's go into physical health. Let's go into the history of physical health. Physical health has been important for thousands of years. For example, the Indians actually showed that they relied on a lot of different health aspects, and most of this can be found in a book that they put together with all the medical concepts that they had. This is called the Ayurveda. Today, a lot of these aspects are still used, but the most popular one that we see is yoga. Now it is most popular in middle-aged women, but it is more beneficial for the elderly because it helps increase their agility, flexibility, and their stamina. Then let's go into exercises. Exercise is very important because the amount you do affects how healthy you are. There is such a thing as overdoing exercising, and that is almost as bad as not doing any physical activity at all. There are many different exercises, and some of these include dancing, swimming, running, biking, and there's so many more, and there's even subcategories of these of how you can do it. But that exercising is almost as important, or just as important, as diet. Diet is also a huge factor when it comes to a person's physical health. There are 5 main food groups which a lot of people are familiar with, or at least they should be, and they are fruits, vegetables, grain, protein, and dairy. Although some of these you need to have more than others, such as you need more vegetables than you would need dairy. There are some things that you can take in, that you can have, and then some things that you should lower the amount of. Such as if you were to increase your soluble fiber intake, then you could have help with some diabetes, diverticulosis, and other coronary diseases. But if you were to take something out of your diet, for example, caffeine, it would help with tremors, anxiety, sleeplessness, and even for some people, depression. There are 250,000 deaths every year due to lack of physical activity. All of these are preventable. And because of this amount of deaths, it costs the US $94 billion. This amount of money is mainly focused on doctor's visits or even burial costs because the family couldn't provide it and something has to be done with the body. But how does mental health tie into this? Mental health is related to physical health because physical health increases or decreases a person's depression because the more physically active you are, the less anxious you are, the less depressed, the less hostile thoughts you have, and it also increases self-confidence, self-regard, and the thoughts for self-improvement. Then let's go into gender, age, and treatment. Gender is a huge thing to factor in when thinking about someone's mental health because women are more likely to have eating disorders, they're more likely to have depression, anxiety, and suicide attempts and suicide ideation, while men are more likely to have behavioral disorders and actually commit suicide. But age also factors into this because, like I said, women are more likely to have eating disorders and anxiety. This is mainly happens whenever they are younger, and it stays without them throughout their life because they are told that they need to look a certain way. And because of this, they get upset, and so then they're anxious about how they look in public. This stays with them a long time, and it takes a lot of therapy just to get rid of. But men, they have behavioral disorders. And this is because a lot of men, they are usually dared to do something, and a lot of the time it is either dangerous or just they shouldn't be doing it at all based upon what they're dared to do. Because of this, of all the dares they have, they actually get more injuries and leading them to an earlier death. That is why the average men age that they die is around 78, while women live longer by 6 years, which is 84. Then let's go into some treatments for some of the diseases that I said. Depression is actually a very important disease, and this is also linked to one of the mental disorders that I will be describing. Depression is a biological disease that is factored in through hormones. There is no primary cause for it, but a lot of depression is influenced based upon past trauma. And because of this, it can be fixed through psychotherapy, therapy, shock therapy, and tricyclic antidepressants. There is so much to factor in when it comes to just mental health, not just whether it's their past experience, but also their age and their gender. But how does social health tie into this? Well, social health actually is important because, social health is important because community peer pressure. A lot of us are told by someone else to do something, such as radio ads telling us to buy something, a billboard telling us that we need Jesus. A lot of this factors into sometimes how healthy we are. Because every now and then, if you turn on the TV, you'll see something that is an item that will help increase a person's abs or help increase their calves. A lot of this is reduced to community peer pressure, which is the definition of is having someone tell you to do something, whether you want to do it or not, whether it be subconsciously or consciously. Another great example is if you're sitting in a circle with a group of friends and they have a beer. I asked several people if they would drink the beer due to their friends if they were to drink it. All of them said yes because they didn't want to be the odd man out. So because of this, a lot of people have realized that if their friends were to do something, they would too. Then let's go into education. A lot of people think that education isn't actually very important to social health, or not social health, but physical or mental health. But it is one of the biggest factors, because according to studies, it showed that people with an education higher than others are more likely to drink, but are less likely to smoke, and they actually exercise more than those who do not have a good education, such as those who have dropped out or just only have a high school education. There's so many factors when it comes to would education be beneficial towards this person, but it also determines what type of education. Such as you could just be educated in a certain field, whether it just be medicine, or they could be educated in finance. One would help you recognize the problems or solutions for the human body, while the other one is mainly towards math and trying to figure out if something would happen if you took something away. So I would like to go, So here is my senior project. I made a human torso that has 8 parts that are found within the thoracic cavity. The entire thing was made out of paper mache. It took me almost the entire time that we had to finish this product, and I finished it the day of. The reason why it took so long is because I had little to no experience before the assignment was due, and I thought it would be very challenging to accomplish. I was right. And my mentor, turns out, had no idea how to paper mache either. So that was a double whammy. So because of this, we spent a bunch of trial and errors trying to figure this out. And one of the main things that happened is that the main part actually caved in twice, and we had to make 2 different new body cavities. And this took around 3 weeks just to make a new one. And then I also had an organ, the number 2 that is shown right here, which is the kidney. I had one of my kidneys actually destroyed, and I had to go remake it. Another problem I had is that, as I said, my main organ was caving in. My body actually wasn't the only thing that was having that problem, and my other organs were doing so as well. So I would try to make sure that they weren't caving in by making it dry faster, to which I held over an open flame, but I was advised not to do this because it could release glue fumes and I can get, not intoxicated, but I could get high off them. So I was advised not to do that, which I did follow their instructions. Although I had a lot of problems that set me back several weeks, I managed to overcome them, and I actually had fun doing this with my mentor. I would like to go back to my story at the beginning. Ella Wilbanks, now after learning all the education she needed from the seasonal pass she had, she now goes to the gym every day of the week for an hour. She has changed her diet, to which she now eats the average meal that everyone should have. And then she also changed her job. She realized that it was causing her too much stress and problems, so she decided that she wanted to become a librarian. And this helped her because she had less stress, and all she had to know is whether a book is coming in on good condition and in on time. And because of this, she will live a long life. She will live a longer, happy life. Does my judges have any questions? Some of it, actually, yes, I will, because I signed up for the Army, and I will be a combat medic. I actually get shipped off into the Army basic training starts July 4th, but I get shipped June 26th. And then I actually already used a lot of the information that I described, and because I got my CNA certification yesterday, to which I passed. Thank you.
Question?
Oh, I forgot about that. To be honest, as soon as that ended, I felt like my left knee was about to fall.
the spot, just any chrome, they're all the same.
You grab half of this?
Yeah.
Sorry.
What are we headed for?
Oh, no, this was going on the table. No, for real. No, actually, that's why we got this table. No, I'm being serious. That's what we got this table. Yes. This was before. Russ, you can't see on the video. No,
If only we had Mr. Hummel this time. Just FYI.
you know what?
I would not have had the strength to do
Yeah, I'll put it back on the wall. Back on. Just like that.
All right. You go crash.
Yes, you do. Otherwise, it's recording everything we're saying. Okay. Got 2 minutes. You don't have to stand up there if you don't want to. It's up to you. If you want to test how long, you can do that too. One more of your judges.
Two more. Are my judges ready? So for the research portion of my senior project, I decided to research welding and fabrication. Hammer forge welding is the first known welding process, and that originated in the Bronze Age. And how that was done was just heating up pieces of metal until they were almost melted, and then hammering them together until they stayed. Colombian gold workers developed the first welding flux, and they used powdered copper acetate as their first welding flux. And they used it on these gold sheets, and once they had these gold sheets almost to the point of melting. They would add this flux, and it would atomically fuse these gold pieces together. Once it had cooled, it would leave, the weld was almost not visible at all. It was comparable to the welds in modern jewelry. Some common welding processes are shielded metal arc welding, or stick welding. And the reason it's called that is because it uses a flux coating on the outside of the rod to shield your molten weld pool. Gas metal arc welding is one of the second most common welding processes, and it uses a gas to shield your molten weld pool. With gas metal arc welding, or MIG, there's no slag on the finished weld. Gas tungsten arc welding, or TIG, which stands for tungsten inert gas, TIG welding is the third most common welding process. TIG is one of the most controlled welding processes, and that's because of its low deposition rate. So you control exactly how much metal you are adding to your weld, and it's just very controlled. It's commonly done on stainless steel and other non-ferrous metals. It's one of the most difficult welding processes to learn, but you can make the most money doing it. Stick welding is one of the most versatile welding processes, and that's because it can be done inside, outside, underwater, in any condition. And it uses a hard flux coating on the outside of the rod to shield your weld pool. MIG welding is one of the easiest welding methods to learn, and that's because you have just a MIG gun and it's wire fed. So you point it and you pull the trigger, and it welds like it should. It's most commonly used in mass production and fabrication in warehouses and worldwide. I have hours of prior welding experience in all three of those listed processes. I had built all sorts of stuff. These are some gates I built, and then this is a hay spike, and this is where it'll connect to a 3-point hitch on the back of a tractor. But I had never used CNC software before, so my experience using CNC software to make my sign was a first for me. I used the CAD/CAM software to create and finalize the design itself for my sign, and then the CNC was used to cut my flat stock. CAD stands for Computer Aided Design, and CAM stands for Computer Aided Manufacturing. Those are just steps prior to actually cutting. I used the bandsaw to cut all my tube for the frame of the sign, and the reason I used that was the bandsaw will make cleaner cuts than anything else. And then before I welded, I just made sure that all of the steel was clean, and it was ground clean, and there was no mill scale or rust or oil anywhere on it. I used the cross square method to make sure that my frame was completely square, all directions, and how that's done is just pulling a measurement from corner to corner on the sign and shifting it until you get the same measurement both ways. Every weld on this sign was made using a MIG welder. I ground all the welds on the frame down so it looks like just one piece of tube. And then J&S Welding is where I took it to be powder coated. And I actually heard about that from my mentor, from Dan Dye. He's my instructor at Votech. He also works at J&S Welding. Creating the gap in the middle of my sign was one of the most difficult parts of it. And if you see all the green letters is a solid piece of flat stock. It runs the whole way through. And creating enough space in the middle of those two cut pieces to drop that down was tricky. I used 2 pieces of this channel. I laid that down, and that created my gap on the front side, and that for my first piece. And then welding my second piece on, I just slid a piece of flat stock down, and I spaced out both of those pieces and moved it as I needed to make my welds. But yeah, I was very happy I was able to use the CNC software and get experience using that, because I'd never done that before. But the CAD design was one of the most time-consuming parts of this project, and that's because this file that I used, it came from, it was a file that was used to make the vinyl stickers that go on the side of the work vans. And all of these lines were double-lined, and you can't have double lines on your CNC software, so you have to delete all of one of those lines to make your letters able to be cut. And that took forever to do because this software is done to scale. So since this is 56 by 36 inches, it was 56 by 36 inches on the computer too. You had to zoom in way down to delete a 1/4 inch of that line at a time. And then getting the middle piece to fit once I was done with everything else, that was pretty tricky too, just because there's not a very big gap. And especially once it had layers of powder coat on both sides of it, it didn't really want to slide. But do my judges have any questions?
So I'm thinking from a simple and inexpensive perspective of hanging a sign that you can see through and you just have the cutout letters. But this way you have to go twice as much cutting and then put the thing in the middle. Do you think that's worth the extra time and expense? Or?
Well, since this sign's going to be hung and to be seen double-sided, it needed to have both sides. And if I was to just cut one piece of steel, it would be backwards from one side. So I would have liked to not had to do it this way, but that's really the best way to do it, to be double-sided. Yeah. I really couldn't tell you. I worked on it for at least 3 weeks going to Votech. So I'm at Votech for about 2 hours, and it was about 3 weeks of deleting that second line. And it was just tedious. That's all it was. But
Any questions? Yeah, you do.
I don't know how I'm going to do that.
That was important before.
That wasn't important before. You didn't hear what the important was. when you get your breaks, you're doing so busy.
I got a couple of stuff.
You've got, yeah.
There you go. What are you doing?
Oh, that was, yeah.
On the tie.
Either way. You've just got about a little over a minute, so you want to test your this. Just remember everything you're saying is now being broadcast.
Am I allowed to use the next slide? See.
Just to make sure you remember how it works.
Are my judges ready? All right. Family time is not trivial, and I state this is meaning my family time with my family is not wasted at all. The history behind board games, which is my main topic. Eleanor Abbott here created the game Candyland, going back to the early 1940s, stating that board games were needed because there was a lot of kids sick because of polio, and they were all stuck in the hospital by themselves, and they weren't necessarily by themselves, they were just with other kids who were sick and nurses who were taking care of them. And they were bored. Their imagination were going nowhere, so this woman, Eleanor here, created the board game Candyland. It was Candyland because it was a nice imagination place for kids to go. And I chose this board game because I thought it was beneficial to not only me, but others, because everyone's always hooked into electronics, and I was planning on originally making a video game, and instead I wanted to do a board game because everyone's socializing less because of the electronics and how they're always distracted. People used to sit on their porch every day. As people walked by, they would talk with each other, hang out, and now we're just all confined into our rooms. Board games teach win and loss. If you're winning, you're not over bragging. We don't want any people over bragging, and if you lose, you don't want to be a sore loser. So board games is a fun way to show your emotion, because if you freak out because you lose, no one's going to want to be around you to play. So it helps you teach yourself and adapt to not want to be that person who doesn't play board games very well with others. And the lack of socialization has been increasing because of the development of phones and electronics. These developments are not very good for us because it's destroying our mental capacity, because people aren't able to communicate or see how other people are feeling as well, because they're not having enough socialization to see the expressions on other people's faces and learn from it. And board games help development because it increases your mental capacity. It teaches you the win and loss, like I was stating in the previous slide. And it helps you socialize more and talk and communicate with others. The memories we make with our family is everything. Going back to Candace Cameron Bure, I like this quote very much because I feel like family is very important. And if we go back to my title, it states how family time is not trivial, saying that time with family is not wasted. And the screen time has been gradually increasing over the years, and because of my board game, well, not because of my board game, but the board game alone, I feel like helps people play games together, and that's why I decided to play a board game. My product is over there on the table, and my research behind it. I decided to do a board game night with my family, and I had fun with it. And we all got around and played. I mean, just even a board game night alone helps people get together. If you bring snacks, it gets people out of the room. And board games improve the minds, the mental capacity I was stating earlier. It helps with socialization. It just helps out a lot. It led me to believe that we need less electronics because our mental capacity is not gradually increasing because of the socialness around electronics, because we are very social in electronics, but the socialization around it is not actually meeting up with people and communicating face to face, which is not helping at our economy. And showing you care, using my 3D prints from my board game that I used, because it's a sci-fi trivia. And showing you care is being able to ask someone how they're doing, just something simple like, hey, what's up? A hug every now and then, it goes a long way. Telling people that you care very much about them can really impact on someone's life, because you could have a bad day and someone just coming up to you and just gradually meeting you is an impact. And the product and the materials that went into my board is I took a trifold board, I cut the center piece out, and I made it my board layout. And I used scissors, I used some glue, I used some 3D print, I used a computer to get onto Thingiverse and make my prints, and I used Canva to make my cards. So I used paper, ink, and a lot of handwork. My struggles making the game is that the 3D prints, I did not know how to 3D print anything. And I went to talk to Mr. Knapp about it. He was very helpful. He got my 3D prints when I needed it done in time. I spent like $15 on all the Yoda pieces. And on the cards, I put all three of them combined, the green, the yellow, and the red, because I didn't want to throw all three different cards up there. But it would show a face on there to show easy, medium, and hard. The easier the card, the less steps you got to move. And the medium card moved 2 steps, the red card moved 3. But it was a struggle for me to do the cards because I initially wrote them all on a notebook piece of paper, and then I transferred it over to Google Doc, and then after the Google Doc, I transferred it over to Canva because I wanted to customize my cards to be really good. And then after I transferred it over to Canva, I was told to transfer it over to a PDF, so it was a lot of transferring, and it was a struggle because it took a lot of my time and patience. And then after I printed it, it cost money for the ink, so that was like $7.50. And after I printed it, I cut it out with a paper cutter, which probably wasn't the smartest choice. I should have had borders. So the cards aren't evenly leveled. And as hard as I tried my best to make them all line up, some of them are a little wonky. And after all the cutting, I did 3 layers of cutting. The first with a paper cutter, I glued the card to the back side of the other card because they printed in 300 different cards instead of 150 because I apparently did not know how to put the back side on the card. And so after I did that, I cut the card out to the same size as the other side, and then I laminated it and then had to do another layer of cut. So it was a lot of time and patience, and I had my family help me out with that. And how to play is that depending on the difficulty of card choice you pick for the sci-fi trivia is how many steps you get to move forward. And I chose 8 Yoda pieces because I have a big family, and the youngest player goes first. And then if you get the answer right, you get to move. If you don't get it right, it's the next player's turn, and it goes clockwise. And that's initially how you play the board game. And what I learned is I need to think a couple steps ahead, like the board game chess. It helps you think ahead. I didn't think ahead before my last-minute product being finished because of the snow break. It held us up for like 2 weeks, and I could not get to school. And on my way to school, I hit the ditch because of the ice. So that was a struggle. And that's what my final product ended up looking like. That's the initial board, and I feel like if we all get rid of these electronics, that we'd all be able to socialize more, and we'd be able to communicate better and be able to come together as a community. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
Got a couple questions. The first one is, how did you come up with all the trivia questions? Like, did you just research something new?
I came up with some of them on my own, and then I would go find some more questions if I couldn't think of any to ask myself.
And then you talked about, technology versus board games.
Mhm.
So after you've done this project, have you felt like you've gained a new insight, like, in how you're gonna live your life in the future
Well,
after doing this?
I mean, I have been playing games less, and I mean, I would be in my room every single day playing video games. If you were to ask my family, they would admit it. And then I got a job, and I've just always been pretty busy from there on out.
How did you make the squares on your board?
In Canva, I initially made it to a certain size, and the squares on my board, I just copied and kept copying each square after I made that initial square.
You glued them on, or
I didn't even glue them
how
on.
did you print them?
I used Mrs. Lee's printer. I paid like $7 for that too. Yes.
Have you had more than one game night with your family?
I have not. Yes. I mean, we got some cards right here if you want some.
Did you win when you played?
With
your family?
I
You
would
made
say,
all the cards?
yes, I did. So it wasn't
You're an
initially
Iron
fair.
Man fan, right?
I like Iron Man, yes. Tony Stark's a good way to go.
So I kind of looked at the cards up there. Are they in categories categories, or?
Yes, they are.
What-
Easy.
How did you come up with the category? I mean, the
It's opinionated by me. So
different kinds of topics, or?
it's just sci-fi movies.
Okay.
So it's about sci-fi movies about like Iron Man, Galaxy of the Guardians. So Tron.
Determine what's hard and easy.
Yeah, so it was technically opinionated by me the whole time. So, yeah.
So it has a perspective of a teenager. Might be different
Yeah.
for an old guy.
Exactly.
You wouldn't know the answers to any of them.
I wouldn't know the easy ones, but I might know the hard ones. I was there.
Do you know my time? 8:10. All right.
I say he's technically retired, so I'm surprised he didn't do that.
There we go.
Thank you, guys.
Gate brings his in, he may need help carrying it.
What's his?
He's got like a cable thing that's got all kinds of electrical connections.
Maybe that's how they decided who was in what rooms. That's how they decided who was in what rooms. So I'm pretty sure if he looked at me and asked me to carry that thing, he'd been trouble.
That's even heavy, isn't it?
It looked like it.
He's heavier than I thought it was. You are good. Oh, I was gonna say. Ah, good. You brought him. Good job. There we go.
That's where you have to stand. Right there's where you have to stand. Or put it in front of your board over there is where I.
I didn't know there was going to be that table in here.
You have 6 minutes. That's right. And if you want the microphone on now, you can put it on now, but understand that it's hearing everything. Okay. I mean, it's still hearing, but it's not like it's right there.
That's where I was planning on putting it.
That's a good design right there. That's
I had
okay.
everything up here.
That's okay.
The farther I got into the school, the less it worked.
2200. 00 is his project ID. No, not until 6:20. I'll close the door. Oh. Well, it just keeps us on the same time. We're supposed to be on, too. Never know. Somebody from the public is allowed to come in and watch if they wanted to. 2 minutes. Ask them to, because it's been turned on. An hour and 1 minute. See, put on your tie, you're all set. As soon as it changes to 6:20, I'll let you know.
I stand in the middle at the beginning of mine. Are my judges ready? How much technology do you pass day by day? From the phones in our pockets to even implants in the heart, technology is everywhere nowadays. In 2023, technology advances quicker than ever before. As we continue on, I like to remember this quote from Steve Jobs. You cannot connect the dots moving forward. You can only look at the past and predict where the dots will land in the future. My name is Gabe Story. and I believe that computer engineering has advanced through years to come and will continue to advance no matter what. I'd like to begin with the history of technology from myself. It all started in first grade with me. In first grade, I created this Valentine's Day box that was made out of different RC cars from different parts that I had laying around my house. I had 3 or 4 little RC cars that didn't even work. And I sat there and desoldered and took apart all these pieces and put together these motors on one chassis and made a cardboard outline with it and drove it into the school with a smile on my face the next day. No matter what, that memory will always be embedded in my mind. Then we move on to my freshman year. My freshman year, I got together with a buddy of mine named Drake Marshall, and we went to our tech guy named Andrew Corson, and we worked with him on building a club together that was all about coding and programming and even hacking. That was one that we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do, but we really pushed for it. And then that brings me to senior year this year. As I built this project throughout tech, and I decided my senior year that I wanted to go into the field of computer engineering in college. I had never really fully decided on college before, but senior year I had told myself I'm going for computer engineering. And as that freshman year club progressed throughout high school, it became a class, and eventually senior year we went to a hacking competition. It was state hacking competition, and we placed 3rd in the state. And as we go through senior year, Drake and I both work together on different tech projects, and we'll always do different little projects together. This moves me into my research. I wanted to do my research over something that was more tech-related and how tech really affects society throughout. I really wanted to focus on the flexibility of tech and how tech can be put in everything from a desk to the human source of life, our heart, and how from bionic eyes to pacemakers to just a simple thing that flips on a light switch when you tell it to, technology can be put anywhere and everywhere. And I want to reiterate back into the medical abilities. 350 people around the world today have bionic eyes. These bionic eyes allow people who are partially born blind or became blind through an accident to see different shapes and colors. It is not fully technologically advanced, throughout the head to be enough to see full pictures like you and I would see, but they're able to regain most sense of color and shapes, but so much shades they cannot. This also goes into cochlear implants. These cochlear implants allow people who are deaf, either born deaf or became deaf, to become able to hear again. This allows many people who thought things that would never be able to happen, like see or hear, to change their life and progress in new ways. This also takes me into pacemakers. Pacemaker is a small device implanted in the chest, connected to the heart, that if the heart is to ever fail, it will send a small electrical pulse to the heart to restart it. My grandma herself has a pacemaker, and I talked to her about this. She thinks that a pacemaker is the best thing she could have ever had because it has saved her life on 2 different occasions, and she's so happy to have her pacemaker. This later takes me into everyday life. My grandma every day lives with a pacemaker, and I every day work with tech. No matter what, all of us are surrounded by technology in this day and age. A lot of people believe that technology makes our youth lazy. However, studies from Harvard show when they followed a 16-year-old around for about 2 years with tech, they were able to see that this 16-year-old has, up to her 18-year-old, uses tech to listen to music when she's studying, to allow her to focus more, use her technology to look up different things in school and learn things that she might not even learn at school, and allows her to do different things that take monotonous tasks out of her daily life to allow more room for creative freedom. This brings me into my project. I had decided I wanted to go to college, and I didn't really know what I was going to do for a senior project. I was completely stumped. I knew something super technologically advanced like I wanted to do would take way too long to figure out and would have way too many kinks along the way to really make it work. So I decided I wanted to build a desk for college
but implant small electrical things inside of it that allow me to spend more time focused on studying or working on small projects. Throughout my college life, I really wanted to make this desk fit easily in a dorm room. That's why I decided to make it a standing desk. My later plans are to build a matching bar stool that will slide underneath it seamlessly, but for now it is a standing desk and it allows me to not take up the space of a chair, and it's more tall than it is wide, and it allows me to take up less room in my dorm room. I really wanted to put the necessities for a desk within the desk itself. So I need to be able to charge my phone, I need to be able to have a mouse and keyboard connected to my computer, and I need to have room for a computer itself. But I also, one of my necessities personally was to have enough space to sit there and do small electronic projects where I can desolder and solder, so I needed power nearby. This takes me to the technology within the desk itself. We start with a stained pine top leading down to an oak skirt with walnut legs and feet all the way around that allow me to put it anywhere and make sure it's level. We've got 4 USB 3.0 ports right here that connect directly to the computer. Over here we have another 2 with audio in, out, and a USB-C port for data. Back here we have another 2 USB ports and a USB-C port. However, these are for power only. But within, there's 4 120-volt outlets and a wireless phone charger, excuse me. So this really covers everything that I needed to have in my desk. I wanted to have everything within arm's reach. That's why I decided to put them in the corners. This desk is actually very locally sponsored. Local support really helped me throughout this. I struggled to find a lot of the wooden materials within different lumber yards without absolutely breaking the bank. This brought along generations of stories because my coworker actually gave me the wood, the oak and the walnut for the legs, and I later found out that these exact pieces of wood have been sitting in a barn since 1972. They've been drying in this barn, and they were actually cut on the sawmill that my grandfather now owns. The wood on the top, the pine slab, was actually cut out of somebody's backyard in Mountain View, which means everything was cut within 20 miles of where I stand right now. That allows me to say that I brought this piece of local history with me up to college, and I put my own little twist on it. My grandpa loves that the wood was cut on it, and he actually remembers when they cut the walnut for the legs. This brings me along to what it took to build this project. I started with this pine slab. It was about 20 feet long when I first started with it, and I cut it down to this section in our wood shop here, and I decided I just wanted to make this tabletop. Then I started to drill the holes for all of the different electronics. As I went through, I put together the skirt for the oak. I wound up having to move shops because I had dropped my industrial woods class here at school, so I started to do it all at home myself. And I moved to, actually, my boss let me use his shop and all of his tools to do this, and I thank him very much. But as we go through, I attach the skirt, and I get the legs cut, and this is what they all look like before finishing. And then I stained the top and put the legs on with 3-inch lag bolts on each side, which actually allow it that I can pull 1 bolt off of each long side and fold the legs up underneath the desk and travel with it easily. That I was able to fit this huge desk in my small 2-door car to get it here this morning. My main challenges, number 1 was precision. With any sort of woodworking, you have to make sure every single measurement is perfect. They always say, measure twice, cut once. And I had wound up actually cutting one of my pieces of oak way too short and had to actually go get another piece of oak off of this farm, saw it down, and get it down to the right size. My next main challenge was patience. A lot of this project was working for an hour, letting it sit for 3. Between all the glue holding the parts together and having to stain and sand and sand and sand constantly to make sure it was a perfect finish, a lot of patience was needed. Resources was another big issue. I had originally wanted to just do the pine top with four 4x4 pine legs, which now looking back, I see that probably wouldn't have looked the prettiest, but I was not able to find untreated 4x4 pine anywhere within 200 miles from where we live. I called every single lumber yard, went to everyone that I could, and it was either nobody carried them or would cut them, or local sawmills said it would take too long to dry out by the time I should have my project done. So throughout these challenges, I battled different things of having to make sure everything was measured right, make sure I could stand there and work by sanding it, and make sure I could get everything actually to one place. And I actually loved putting this project together. While doing it, I had kind of had a vendetta against it, but now that it's all together and done and I'm finally giving this speech, I'm glad to have it here with me. But as I go through college with this, I know it's going to be something I always keep with me. I want to pass this desk down to my kids, even if that means I have to peel the electronics and the glue out of it and put new ones in, because by the time 5 years rolls around, those electronics will probably be outdated. But I want to connect my dots of my future by looking through the past of what I've done and connect the dots into college, and as I take this desk with me. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions? I plan to study computer engineering with a minor in robotics. Missouri State, Springfield. I was looking at S&T, but it's pretty expensive.
Well, I had 3 questions, but you answered all of them during
I read in your paper something about technology making people lazy. What do you think the age cutoff is for that statement? Because I, as an older person, I feel like the more we try to make our lives simple, the harder they actually get. Because I wouldn't understand half of that stuff that you were doing.
I get that, but I mean, when you boil it down to simplicity, this right here is just a phone charger. I can just lay my phone on it and it'll charge it. This here, it just allows me to plug in keyboards, mice, or anything USB I need into the computer without actually having to touch the computer. I can plug it straight into the desk. Everything else is just simple power and data transfer. It's just they've all got fancy names that confuse everybody. But I believe...
I'm a very creative person, but I don't think I would have built a desk like that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Back to your original question, I believe the age cutoff, it really depends on the person's maturity. A lot of people, I mean, I know some people my age that shouldn't be online because they're not mature enough, but I know some people who are 14, 15 years old that are smarter than half the people in my grade that I believe the internet would be a very key point to a lot of their success.
I'm curious about this hacking club. Hacking kind of has a bad reputation.
He's actually Andrew Corson that I was talking about right back there. So it's a lot of people see hacking as a bad thing, but it's actually really constructive because yes, you learn how to do all those bad things, but you learn how to do them so you can prevent people from doing them. You learn how they're done. It's just like how if you're going into law enforcement, you learn exactly how all the bad things are done so you can learn how to prevent them. And it goes both ways, but anybody can take any knowledge and use it for a negative way. But when you take this knowledge and take in security and all these things, it actually turns out pretty good.
And that technology doesn't surprise me. What surprises me is that you did the woodworking, because I didn't hear any of that in your background.
Yeah.
Is that brand new for you?
No, growing up, my dad had always done a lot of woodworking, and I'd love to sit there and watch him. I've never really tackled a project this big. This really is the biggest woodworking project I've ever done. I've made little boxes and stuff in shop, but I mean, woodworking's always interested me because it's something I can just sit there and do with my hands, and you can start from nothing and end with a product like this, and it's satisfying to me.
And I would just like to say, I think the 4x4 pine legs would have been a bad move.
Yeah. Looking back now, I'm very glad I didn't do the 4x4 pine legs, but it was a big bump in the road trying to find them.
And the wall
Any more? Thank you. I'll carry this over this one. Foot fell out.
Grab that for me. I got it. Oh, he's gonna need it whenever he sits it down.
Leveling foot.
$11.55.
He'll be there in a second. It's okay. He's got 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
It's time.
Garrett Spence.
Are my judges ready? Hi, my name is Garrett Spence, and today I'd like to talk to you today about the hunting blind I built. Why I built the hunting blind. I built this hunting blind because I like my drive to build, and I also like to hunt. I like to build things because it gives the feeling of accomplishment, and also gives the feeling that you get to work with your hands, and also you can build tools to help others and yourself for practical stuff in your life. My family and siblings have also been avid hunters and like to hunt. So I built this hunting blind to help me and my parents and others that I know to hunt in it and to be able to get something though they accomplish and got a deer to take home and to process and have the meat from it, and if they want to skin it, they can skin it and use the pelts from it. Improvement and help. Many opportunities that hunters have are physical, mental, and some spiritual benefits of hunting. Some physical benefits include walking through the woods, promotes like healthy blood organs, and also promotes physical exercise to help with your cardiovascular system and helps with staying cool and calm and collected, and also getting your physical exercise that you need daily in your everyday life. Also, there are mental benefits that hunters get from hunting. There's a cool and calm breeze that every hunter that feels when they're about to get the first deer, the adrenaline rush that goes through their body that they feel right before they get their first deer. And as soon as they get it, they just have a rush of adrenaline. And they want to go out there and go get it as fast as possible. But they need to wait and be patient to make sure that they can securely have the deer that they want. Also, there are spiritual benefits. There's energy that you get when you get excited and you see your first deer, or you see another deer. And just that you have that feeling that just rushes through, and it makes you want to just scream for joy or be happy and maybe start to cry. Depends on circumstances. Making a living. Hunters can make a living by killing deer and taking it to, they can skin it up and take the pelts and stuff to local flea markets or town festivals. Also, you can take the meat to your friends and family to sell to them, or to take it into like a local supermarket that will gladly let you sell to them and others that would like to buy your meats from you. Also, you can take your deer to processing plants. Processing plants take your deer and process them into like different kinds of meat, like bologna, deer sausage, like deer hamburger, and other sorts of meats like that. They can also take and skin the deer for you, but it charges a little bit extra for it to be skinned. But if you take it there skinned, it's a little bit cheaper, which is likely what most people like to do. Also, you can take people hunting, or you can also own a deer farm. A deer farm is a place where you can take hunters out there, or just go out, if you're experienced enough, you can go out there by yourself and get your very own deer without having like little like hard work to have to do and all that. It's easily to go shoot a deer and just take it back and skin it, and you're done. Deer population. The deer population is increasing every month, every day, every second. It's increasing, and every time it's increasing, it's causing habitat loss because they're going through the environment and eating and eating and eating. With them eating all that, it causes the plants and animals not to develop and grow like they need to for other animals that they need to eat those plants and all the other animals that they eat, or plants that they eat. This increase in deer population causes other decreases in other species and environments around them. There's an extended time limit and period that hunters get called the grace period. These hunters the government allows hunters to have a grace period, or extended time and period limit, to where they can hunt and get a deer faster and be able to get that in the extended time limit that they didn't have. Habitat loss. Habitats are being destroyed because, like I said, the deer are being eaten. The deer are being eaten, and they also are eating all the plants and all the other organisms that are living there. The species are dying also because with them eating the plants, other animals that eat those same plants cannot thrive in that same environment. So you have to travel to another environment, but there also could be other animals that are eating that same plant there that cannot have the right necessities or nutrients that they need to survive in their everyday environment. My product. As you can see in my product, I built that's the first step of my hunting blind that I started off with. The construction took around six months, which I worked on it through school and after school, like I needed to. It roughly took about, at least I say about 50 hours. It roughly took, which doesn't count the time that I did what I do in school and after school. Kind of mainly it was all in school, but the time I needed to do it after school was included in that. Also, Mr. Bell helped me with all the finishing touches I need, and also helped me with all the steps and all the tools I didn't know how to use. And also he helped me explain to me how to use like a table saw, which I wasn't familiar with that much. I never really kind of used before. So he helped me explain how to use it, and how to work it, and make me better at working and using it. He also helped me figure out how to use a skill saw that I never used before, which was a struggle. He figured out, he told me how the best way to cut a piece of material vertically and horizontally, be able to cut this and make the hunting line as you see here today. The steps it took. I started off getting all my materials and collecting all my materials from the local lumberyard, Wagner's. Wagner's helped me and supplied me, which I paid for, supplied me for all my lumber and materials I needed for my hunting blind. I first started off with the railroad ties I built for my platform, and they were treated so they wouldn't rot. That they would take a long time for them to rot. Then I started building wall. I had to mirror the walls from each side because they had to be identical for them to be the same height, so you can have it both sides be the same. Also, I had to do the back of it differently, a little bit differently. It was shorter, but I also had to keep the same window height. So when I put windows in it, I can have it directly straight across and have it flush, so there's no gaps or holes in there, so air can seep through when I don't want it to. Also, I had to build my door differently because I was putting a window in it instead of just a regular door. So I want to be able to put a window in it so I could also hunt out of that and be able to open my door like seamlessly and be able to open my door, go out and collect my deer that I just got, or turkey or something like that, and also animals like that. Right here is the door that I built on that left picture there, and the middle picture is when I was putting the plywood up for my door frame and all that. And this right picture right here is a bunch of the wood that I had. I've been using I think it was like a month after I started doing it. So I took that picture after I used a bunch of the wood out of that. And challenges I face. The weather played a big part because in Missouri we have all 4 seasons, and it's winter one day, hot one day, rainy another day, even like kind of warm, kind of not. So it played a big factor. One of the days it snowed like the whole entire week, so I couldn't even come in and work on it. And school was out, so I wouldn't be able to work on it with Mr. Bell and come in there because it was risking me and Mr. Bell getting hurt. Also, it was rainy, and it rained all on top of it, which kind of, before I had the roof on it, it flooded inside of it, so I couldn't really I would be stepping in it and making puddles splashing everywhere, and I didn't want to soak my shoes because I was in school working on it, so I didn't want to just make up my outfit that I had get messed up and all that. Also, the water and the rain was making the boards wet, so it was a little bit harder to work with, and it also played a big factor in me working outside. My other challenge I faced was the supply of lumber. The lumberyard was on a short supply of plywood that I needed, and a couple other boards that I forgot because I didn't calculate all the boards I needed and required for being able to build this. The lumberyard was on low supply of the treated plywood that I needed for my outside of my boards, my outside of my deer blind, because the treated plywood I couldn't use untreated because it would make the deer blind rot faster and make it where it'd be a little bit unsturdy. Also, another challenge that I did not list was I was playing sports at that time. I played basketball for Willow Springs High School, and during that time it was hard to We left at certain times, and also during Mr. Bell's class, I skipped working on my hunting blind to go down to our new gym, go down to the new gym to shoot and get ready for our game that night, which I shouldn't have, but sports plays a big key part in my life and helps me get through school and stuff. That's my finished deer blind. That was taken, I think, 2 months ago. That was we put tin on top of it, which I didn't list that in my proposal, but I figured I needed some tin on it because the roof was just made out of wood and it looked right, so I put some tin on it. My buddy, his dad, lended me the tin. Like, he let me have it for free, like donated to me, so I got that for free, which is nice and really nice of him. And then more excited. Do my judges have any questions? Yes. No, I have not. I got it done this year, and I'll be hopefully taking it out during the fall and hopefully get something soon.
Will it have a permanent location?
Yes, probably out my grandpa has us like 40 acres to use that we bought off of him that we gave to us. So we're gonna set up somewhere out there because there's a big wooded area out there.
Are you gonna paint it?
Yes, with the weather and all that, I wanted to make sure it was like warm for like a whole entire week. So I wanted to, so to help it dry. So I wanted to make sure it was warm. So yeah, I'll probably do that probably after school, about maybe in a month or two. Yes. I think I would probably put on stilts because I like it being up in the air because it's better for the deer not be able to see you as well. Because I was painting right now, it'd still be able the deer would still be able to see you like better, like worse. But if it was up in the air, they wouldn't really see me as well. And plus, it's just I can look out farther and see my surroundings a lot more better.
Can you back up to the picture only to see?
That one?
Okay. I thought you said something about putting a window in the door. Is that something you're planning in the future?
The windows, yes, those are for the future. In my proposal, I didn't think about windows at the time, and I thought it through, and when I got it done, I figured that I should put windows in it because I didn't know if it was going to be hot one day or cold, so I'm going to put probably plexiglass windows in it.
So a glass window that you can slide and still shoot through?
Yes.
'Cause you have a blind in there, and I was wondering about that.
Yeah, I'll probably make it where I can slide it up and down, or open it if I want to open, and one side open, one side not.
Or you could just back it up to a cliff or something.
True.
Any other questions for him?
Thank you. Started sweating. Golly. I don't know. You know my time.
I'm leaving. Oh, yeah.
I know how he is.
Oh, Penny, just walk in.
Is it good? Cracking jokes? I could see it. Yeah. I think I could see. Hold on. Oh, yeah. I gotta get Garrett a straw.
She's got 5 minutes anyway. You still have 5 minutes, you're okay. No stress.
Am I presenting from over here?
Yes, that's the line,
Okay.
yes.
I couldn't find the line over there. I have a question though. I have my product. Do I need to pass it around beforehand or after?
You probably can just let them pass it, like just give it to one of them and let them pass it on their own
All right.
as you're presenting. We have to wait till the time, so you still have 4 minutes.
All right.
Don't get nervous.
I'm trying not to. Because when I
Don't
get
be nervous, I mean, big
yeah,
deal.
Yeah, it's not a big deal or anything. My nerves is what gets me though.
You don't have to stand up there if you don't want to.
Oh, I need to get more comfortable
Okay,
standing here.
okay.
If I get
Whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Just standing here getting comfortable is what will help
When
me.
I signed up, there was nothing in the
Okay,
7 o'clock
stand on
slot.
Okay.
I thought I'd sign up for 7:20. I can either just sit here or I can judge, but I don't have a student ID. I didn't know if I can judge too while I'm here.
I don't think you're supposed to. I mean, I think you would like.
Is it okay just to sit in
Oh,
here?
yeah.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Yes, guys.
3 minutes. At 1 minute, we'll put the microphone on you. Do you want to mess with this for a minute? Just to
Sure.
make sure that it all works for you? And then at 1 minute, we'll put the microphone on.
I noticed that in the Bears Den, the cameras were
You noticed in the Bears Den that the cameras won't work?
Yeah, they had like a so
Not
my
my- not-
my parents are watching. I have a lot of people watching online, so like
Hope it's working.
I really hope
So
it's
none of them
working.
were working?
Yeah, they all were like showing the cameras were down or something like that. I'm not sure. Like I couldn't see anyone.
Andrew's usually on that
Yeah,
pretty quick.
I hope so. Because if not, my mom will upset. Because I did not let her in the room.
Oh.
And there was a lot of church people who wanted to come too.
Mhm.
And I was like, no. So,
Here's the link. Hope it works.
yeah,
He's usually on it pretty quick if something's going on. 2 minutes, yeah.
pass around.
You can let it start and then they can.
I'll text him.
Okay.
Ask him to make sure.
Yeah, yeah. I'm be real honest with you from these heels. And they're not even long. Not even tall.
Okay, let's go ahead and
Okay.
figure out where,
Yeah, probably.
just make sure we don't turn anything off. Where do you want?
One on either side, it doesn't matter.
There's enough to hold it.
Okay. Okay. All right. I think so. I hope keep calm.
You'll be fine.
Okay. Are my judges ready? Josh Hanna has been a huge inspiration to me. He started off not knowing anything about photography, but through his own practice, he got a lot better. He also went to conferences, which really helped him in the long run with his photography. He is now an award-winning photographer, and he started off not knowing anything about photography, and I believe I can do the same thing. Hi, I'm Hannah Vanderbilt, and I believe that beginners in photography are not as experienced, but are still capable of taking good professional-looking portraits. Because of my research, I have found that it's not as hard as it seems to get to the professional level, and my reasoning behind my topic was because of the fact that I used to take a purple little camera around my house, and I would take pictures of the fish and my mom, my sister, my little dogs that I had running around, and I even have pictures of Christmas cookies that I made when I was little for Santa Claus. I also have a picture on my slide of my sister crawling away from me because she didn't want her picture taken. In middle school, I started taking more I continued with my photography, and I started taking pictures outside with the leaves and the sunset, the mushrooms, and also the flowers. And I also have a picture of my dad posing in front of the Galloway Park sign. He willingly posed like this. I didn't tell him to pose in any certain way, and so that is one of the reasons why I liked taking pictures of people, because he really made me laugh. And during high school, I took a photography class with Ms. Martin, and because of that class, it really made me want to do more with portrait photography. Because of that class also, I have realized that beginners in photography need to learn about camera settings to better their quality of images. Some of these camera settings include auto mode, which is basically where the photographer will point the camera and take the shot, and all of the settings are changed for them. But in manual mode, the settings are changed by the photographer themselves. They change the camera settings, and these settings include aperture, ISO, and shutter speed. Shutter speed is how fast the camera takes the picture. So when you use a faster shutter speed, it will capture a fast-moving object in time. But if there is a lower shutter speed, the photographer will use a tripod, and they will, When they use the tripod, it's because the camera is more sensitive because the shutter is open, and so they will use the tripod and to balance the camera, and when they are using that, it makes the picture look more blurred when they have a fast-moving object in front of the camera. Shutter speed and aperture need to be used in perfect balance. Aperture is, when adjusting aperture, it adjusts the diaphragm inside of the lens. And the diaphragm is what you can see on the screen. It is made up of blades, and when using a lower aperture, it makes the blades overlap more, causing the hole that the blades form to get bigger. But when you use a higher aperture, it causes the blades to not overlap as much, and it causes the hole to contract, just like an iris would in your eye. ISO is probably the hardest camera setting for beginners to learn, just because it's the camera's sensitivity to light. So the higher the ISO, the more sensitive the camera will be to the light. Most of the time, when in a dark room, a photographer will use the highest ISO they can because it lets more light into the camera so they can get a better picture without it looking dark. Camera settings are not the only thing that beginners need to learn. It is also how to edit. Editing is one of the crucial parts of photography. Some of the vocabulary words that I believe that beginners need to learn is white balance is the color values in the image. The exposure tool allows you to brighten and darken the initial exposure of the image. The contrast tool allows the photographer to darken the darker parts of the image and lighten the lighter part of the image while having less midtones in the image. But if there's too much contrast that is added to the image, it makes for the image to lose valuable details. The vibrance tool brightens the not so bright parts of the image while keeping the brighter parts of the image bright. And most of the time, portrait photographers will use this tool to change a person's skin tone if they're sunburnt or they're pale and they don't want to be pale. and I've used this tool a lot. Beginners have different ways that they can learn about photography, such as reading. I read 2 books when I was doing my research for this. I read a book on camera settings, and I also learned about how to edit with a different book that I got for my research project. And I truly believe that reading is a crucial part in learning how to be a better photographer, because it allows you to take in a lot of information at once and really dive into what you're learning when it comes to photography. Taking classes is another option. I took classes with Miss Martin, and I truly believe that that helped me as a photographer to become the best photographer that I can. I learned a lot when I was in photography class, so I think the beginners will learn a lot when it comes to being in a class, because they will have a teacher helping them, which will help them with poses and how to edit and really help them get the best photography, be the best photographer that they can. I truly believe that anyone can take good portraits as long as they're willing to put in the effort to do so. Because of my research, I wanted to try the same thing, and so for my product, I edited 40 portraits. These are not all of the ones that I have edited. I could only fit so much on the slide. And so the top row are pictures that I took with Miss Martin in my photography class. The first 3 on the middle row are pictures that I took with my mentor, Ashton Turnbull, when she was doing her Christmas minis in November. And the rest of them are pictures that I took with my best friend, Kinsey, at my mentor's parents' house. And she is wearing a dress in that picture, but note, she is very cold because it's January when we took this. And so I just wanted to highlight on that because she's freezing, and you cannot tell at all that she is freezing in this picture. For my product, I took a lot of pictures in class. I really tried to get the best portraits I could when we covered portrait photography in Miss Martin's class this year. And I also observed a lot with my mentor. When she was taking her Christmas minis, I observed her, and I noticed that she always had them moving around. She never had them in a different pose, she always had them in different poses. She never had them bored or twiddling their thumbs. They were always moving around. They were always engaged with her. She was always talking, and she was always complimenting them, because most of them were a little uncomfortable or talking bad about themselves. And so she would lift them up and make them feel better about themselves. And so when I was doing the same thing, I noticed that posing people was kind of hard for me. And so some of my challenges were poses. When posing a person, it can be very hard because they can almost be as stiff as a Barbie doll, and they can tend to awkward smile. And so when I had to pose some people, it was a little bit of a challenge just because of that. And so when I was taking their pictures, I really had to emphasize on relaxing, because you can tell in their pictures that they're a little stiff and awkward smiling. And so I really tried to get them to relax. And most of the time I would make them laugh to get them to loosen up and not feel as tense or uncomfortable. Another challenge that I faced was the editing software. I use Lightroom Classic for my editing software, and I had an amazing experience while editing, but canceling the subscription afterwards was really hard for me because it was not allowing me to do so. I truly believe that anyone can take good portraits as long as they're willing to put in the work and effort to do so. Josh Hanna has been a huge inspiration to me because he started off not knowing anything about photography, but ended up being an award-winning photographer. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
Is this something that you could see yourself doing as
I
a profession?
I could see myself doing this as a profession, but I believe that I will probably end up doing this as a hobby.
These days, it's a lot easier to develop pictures
Mm-hmm.
than it used to be. Do you have any experience in a darkroom type deal?
No, I don't, but I would love to. That would be really cool. Oh, for sure, natural lighting. Natural lighting's my favorite. Indoor portraits were harder for me just because I wasn't able to work with natural lighting. It looked more artificial, and that's not the way that I like to edit my pictures with. Well, if I go back, I can show you so the ones that were outside were a lot easier to edit, but these were definitely harder just because they were indoors and I had a black background. And so I like to edit lighter, and having that black background was a challenge for me just because of editing in a different way. I'm done. I'll just let you do it. Yeah. Thank you.
Still got 6 minutes. That's okay. 6 minutes.
See ya.
Still got 6 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
I was like, late. I like think back.
Oh, yeah.
It's like my last.
Mr. Huddle, I'm so impressed. You just all over that. I'm impressed. I was like, he's gonna say something, and you didn't. You just, you did. Oh, yeah.
She's watching the live stream.
Oh, is she gonna watch the live stream?
Yeah, she fell asleep, and my nails will be like probably
Uh-huh.
I had it like set, it's like, you know, it's like, it tells you before, like, time thing.
You don't have to stand up there unless you want to right now. Like, you don't have to stand right at this moment. Okay. It's completely up to you. Some people want to stand there, some don't want to stand there. It's whatever makes you comfortable. I'll tell you when we're down to a minute, and then we'll put the microphone on too.
Bro, I try not to get them to let me close all the lights off so I don't have to look at y'all. No offense, I just, faces scare me. They said no. Fine, I'll just take off my glasses. I actually need to see. Everyone was wearing high, I was like, "Shut up." I want to vote. I want to match the doctor. I want to match the rest of my outfit. Totally coincidental. I found this at lunch, okay? And then it was like, it fit. So I decided to wear it. That's a lot. Because I'm not from here. I dropped it. Lunch it. We've decided though. Be a full-time artist. I get to serve Janice. Although my mom's gonna make me with the third and stuff made. But I'm gonna make it. I'll talk to strangers. Stranger comes at me. That one. I don't work here. That was. Like, I know her, but like, I don't know her. That's fine. I worked with her for like 6 months.
1 minute, so let's, there's your clicker, and let's get this closed on you. So you can hear you talk to you.
I'm pretty loud. Are you sure you need me to? I pressed this one, right, to go forward. It's not looking at me.
Shut the door, Barbara, at 7:20.
Okay.
And then I'll say your name, and then you'll know you're good to go.
Okay, do I press this button to go forward? Okay. Just making sure. Delete it. I will sick ash on you. So you can haunt me for the rest of my life. Rude.
This is Ruby Bales.
Are my judges ready?
Yes, sir, can I help?
It's kind of help. And when you leave, and everyone always leaves, I'll be left once more with an empty heart and no hope.
My experience is that there is, surprisingly, always
this is a fictional adaptation of Vincent van Gogh in the hit series Doctor Who. Vincent van Gogh was known to have many mental illnesses throughout his lifetime. I chose this clip because I believe this is a good representation on how people with borderline personality disorder tend to push away their friends and family and believe that there is no hope for them whatsoever. My name is Ruby Bales, and this is BPD Illustrated Through Me. So I chose this project because of my family. My mother is diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and I was recently diagnosed the summer before senior year started. I wanted to learn more, not only more about myself, but my mother. I wanted to learn what was happening to me. So over the past year, I would say I've had many outbursts of anger, inappropriate behavior. I was very impulsive. I sabotaged my own relationships so I wouldn't get hurt myself. And I wanted to learn why I was doing it. So when I got diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, it was a sense of relief. So borderline personality disorder, or BPD, is a mental health disorder that affects how one manages their emotions and behaviors. It affects how they see other people and themselves. It begins in early adulthood. So most people get diagnosed around when they're 18, like right when they're about to, between like their early 30s. So me getting diagnosed was very possible due to genetics. Oh no. So BPD is caused through childhood trauma. Many people with stressful childhoods, such as being neglected as a child, getting taken away from a caregiver or parental figure, if their parent had substance abuse, or just being abused like physically and mentally. This could all cause borderline personality disorder. You are also at a very high risk if you have a loved one close to you that is diagnosed with this, such as a mother, father, brother, sister. It is a genetic disorder as well. There are many effects to this disorder. There's complications in life because since it's hard to manage your emotions and behavior, you not only complicate your own life with your own behaviors, but the people that you love around you. Many people self-harm or think about self-harming or have suicidal thoughts because they feel very empty, and they use that as another coping mechanism for this disorder. They have a major fear of abandonment due to their childhood because they were abandoned at some point or felt like it. They could have a giant fear of abandonment, which causes them to be irrational and try to avoid abandonment at all costs, whether it's a real abandonment or an imagined abandonment. They go through major loops to avoid this. They have anger outbursts, so they could be triggered. These outbursts aren't necessarily shown. You could be happy one minute, and then a loved one or a friend or just a stranger on the street could happen to trigger an outburst. It's very chaotic, and it's happy and then angry or sad or anything. There are overlapping disorders, such as depression, bipolar disorder, which is another personality disorder. It is a manic depressive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, or chronic post-traumatic stress disorder. So chronic means that you are constantly being triggered throughout your life, and then post-traumatic stress disorder is just that you have one incident happen, but with chronic you have multiple incidents within. There are effective treatments for this disorder. There's therapy, so psychotherapy is a form of talk therapy. Like in the beginning clip, I do believe that the doctor is showing a form of talk therapy And talk therapy is where you go in maybe a week or every other week and sit down with a therapist and just talk about your feelings. And behavioral therapy, which is a more common thing to treat BPD, it is where you go in and you try to figure out your patterns so you don't have an episode or a split or something like that. There are medications, but these are more for the overlapping disorders such as bipolar or your depression. And inpatient care. Sometimes this disorder causes us to have such severe symptoms, not a caregiver can't take care of us, so we need more professional help to look after us. So my product cost about $30 to $20. I think the most expensive thing that I spent on this product was my Posca paint pens. Those are an acrylic paint and just in a pen form. Spacing things out. I kind of space things out, that way I would know I would have enough time to fulfill the time managed part of it, but also that way I can make sure that I have the illustration the way I want it. And then I use watercolor Posca paint pens, like I said, XL mixed media paint, and then I use a black cardstock for the black border, and then the frames. So my product was a series of drawings to show the symptoms of BPD. So this one, many people have felt empty, and since it is a personality disorder, they put on different personalities and mirror other people's personality. So I drew kind of like a little hole to represent the feeling of emptiness, and then the post-it note is to show how we mirrored the ones around us so we can be more light. Anger outburst, so you can be happy 1 minute and then have a trigger and be completely angry with the person that you're connected with. Splitting and black and white thinking. Splitting and black and white thinking go hand in hand because splitting is a coping mechanism that our brain does in order to, it's a hurt before you get hurt situation. Black and white thinking is where you either see good in everyone or bad. There's no really gray in between with this disorder. And then favorite person syndrome, we attach to someone, like one person such as a romantic partner or a family member, loved one, and we put them basically on a pedestal. So I don't want to say the word obsessed because obsessed sounds crazy, but we put these people up on a pedestal and our whole world basically revolves around them. And then the fear of abandonment, I wanted to show something where you're spiraling out of control. So when someone leaves you, we often beg them not to because we're afraid of being abandoned like we were in our childhood. So we often spiral out of control and do crazy things. And I wrote like, please don't go, I promise I'll be good and stuff like that, because we often say that we're gonna change because of this disorder, but we happen not really do it. I faced many challenges with this project itself. I underestimated myself. My art style is very abstract and very simple. I forgot how simple my art style was. So I could have easily have done this project maybe in about like a month, maybe even like that day when I got it assigned. So it was very hard to space it out itself because, again, I was underestimating my abilities for my art style. So I needed 6 instead of 5. In my first draft, I put in 4 to 5 art pieces, and I guess past me really wasn't paying attention because instead of saying 5, I did 6. So I had to come up with a completely new picture for this project. And then the frames. So as you can see, one of my pictures is definitely not framed right now, but that happened like right as we got here. The frames broke. I got one that was cracked, and I didn't realize it was cracked until until I got home. I don't know if it was in transportation or at the store because I kind of just grabbed a bunch. I just grabbed them and went. So not only did I have to go back and buy new frames, I struggled to find the frames to fit my project. It's like a 11 by 14, and it was very hard. So I went to Walmart, the Dollar Tree in West Plains, and then finally the Dollar Tree here in our store. And they are very cheap frames, and one of my frames broke, I guess, when they got here. I wasn't really in charge of transporting them here, so that's why one of them is not in a frame now. With this disorder, many people don't feel like there's any hope for them whatsoever. But like the doctor said, there's always surprisingly hope. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
You said you wanted to do this to try to, because you were recently diagnosed,
Mm-hmm.
Did you learn more about it through this
Oh,
process?
most definitely. I learned, my past behavior. I was, not very sure about, my past behavior that I've had in the past year, what was really going on with me. And, I knew there was something that was more than just me. So, learning things like this really helped connect not only my behavior, but my patterns as well. So I can recognize when I'm splitting on someone because I can be like, oh, I'm saying these mean things, or I'm only pointing out the bad because this person made me mad. Or I can realize when I'm starting to get a favorite person, and I can try to step away from that attachment, and so that way I don't step towards them more, or in the anger outburst, I can realize the triggers and try to avoid them next time. Yes. Oh.
I noticed you have one works cited. Was it limited, what you could find, or?
No, I just happened to pull all my information that I used in my speech from this one source. But I did have a book called I Hate You, Please Don't Leave Me, which was a book showing all the signs for not only yourself, but for those who are loved ones around you. And it kind of pulls out stories from past experiences from real people around the world.
Well, I noticed your paper has 12 citations in it.
Yeah. Probably not a good thing, but I did use all my information from this one site when in this story.
That's why I like the idea of bibliography. Here's all the stuff that's important,
Uh-huh.
but it is specifically cited.
Yeah.
Was art an interest of yours, or did you take an interest as part of your
I've been wanting to be a professional artist since I was really little, and I've always been drawing. So being able to do an art project like this to learn more about myself, but also doing something like an art therapy almost, and doing something I'm passionate with, was a big thing for me. My therapist actually recommended when I mentioned it. She's like, yeah, that's a really good idea for an art therapy session, and it really was. Doing art calms me, so when I was doing this, it really did help me therapeutically. Yeah, that's the right word. Big words. Yes, I don't, I plan to post these on my Instagram or something, and then I'm just gonna hang them around my house. But learning more about this, I can inform other people. So if I get in a relationship, I can be like, hey, I have BPD, and this is what it means, and I can show them examples through my artwork. So, yeah.
Is it something that, I know it's a part of who you are,
Mhm.
so you don't get over it.
Yeah.
Is it something that, with coping skills,
They're,
basically express on a daily basis without it being a stumbling
Mhm.
block?
yeah, so some coping skills are just doing the behavioral therapy. That not only do you use it in the therapy itself, but you can use behavioral therapy as an out of office thing, and you can use the things that you learn because it's supposed to help you recognize your patterns. So I can definitely use the pattern thing and be like, oh, step away from that trigger, step away from this, and learn more. So I can use my coping skills that I've also learned through this. Okay, thank you. Can I ask what my time is? Yeah. See, I knew I was gonna go over time.
No, we don't do anything. We host the room, that's all we do. I think we take that, though.
Oh, sorry.
And
And then
I'll take it over there if you gotta go.
Okay. Sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you.